Ah, hello, hello, hello. Actually, I've been singing this morning, so I feel like I should bring that here as well. Hello, 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 hello. Hi, Niiamah Ashong here. So glad to be in conversation and really honored that you allow me to be a part of your journey here today. We get the opportunity to spend time with outliers and world shapers, outliers who are one of the only, one of the first, one of a kind in the things that they do. And world shapers who then go realize that they don't have to be the only one there, and they're actually shaping the world to make sure that others don't have to feel what they felt, and others get a chance to benefit from the experience they have. So we're in this space here today to have an amazing conversation. I'm joined with two fantastic people who are going to bring their outlier game to the table, and we're just going to have a conversation to see what emerges. Right. Today we have Ulrike Seminati and Caylin White, who are joining us as outliers and world shapers. And honestly, too, I'm just really thrilled and honored to be in conversation with you. Thank you so much for making the time for this and saying yes to the invitation. Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Let's bring you both into the room here. And then that way we can have some room and some space to play and have the conversation that's really supposed to be had today, right? So Ulrike, why don't you let us know a little bit about you first here? And what I want to make sure we capture here is like, what's the mission that you're on? So let us know about you, and then we'll go, Caylin, we'll come to you next.
So I'm really on the mission of humanizing the workplace by creating leaders who lead with authenticity, who communicate with impact, who can create that trust and connection with employees. Because I know that everybody's longing for it, but it's missing in nearly every organization I have ever worked for or have ever been a consultant or a coach for. So that's what I'm doing for a living now for 4 years. And I have quite a lot of experience myself in the corporate world, have suffered from this lack of good communication and good connection in the workplace as well. And I have been a corporate communications leader for 23 years, actually, and was climbing up the whole career ladder until I, let's say, ended up as a C-level executive for the last 3 years. And this helicopter view gave me even more the feeling there must be something else. We must do things differently, really, in organizations. There's always the same pattern that repeats, and that's what I'm doing today for a living. So I'm doing trainings, one-on-one coachings, online and face-to-face for leaders across the globe, actually, to help them to step into their true self at work, to have this courage and to lead from a different place of power at the end. And I love what I'm doing, and that's what my mission is. I want to make this contribution to change how people live their work life, actually.
Well, I appreciate that. I love how you said like make this contribution to change, because I feel like sometimes we take on like just 2 months and we're like, hey, we gotta create the end change. It's like, no, you're playing your part, and you know that there's a part that you specifically can play, and you've stepped into that. And I really like I see you in that, and I appreciate that. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Caylin, help us get to know you.
Awesome. Happy to be here. So I'm Caylin White. I am a meditation and breathwork leader. My mission is to help empower people to heal themselves, mind, body, soul, emotional, physical. As a chronic pain survivor, I have found the power to find ways to just heal, whatever that means in our life. I'm the founder of Heal Your Life With Us, podcast host, and author of Goldify. I'm a writer, and I believe that if we get a diagnosis, it's not lifelong, it's not a death sentence. And being someone who's been in those shoes, I just want to help people understand that they can change their story, they can change their narrative, they can change their bodies. So it is my mission to truly walk the walk and talk the talk myself, and trying all of the things that I've done over the years to just grow and be the light. And I just want to relate to people that are on their journey. Meditation and breathwork have been a big part of that, but also really just connection. Like Ulrike said, it's about change. It's really, truly about we're all one collective, and we really, truly can be, the light to help others walk the same path. So very excited to share the story and help others share theirs as well.
I'm glad both of you are here, Caylin. Thank you so much for that. There's a there's something about both of you as we're like having this conversation. I have to say, like, I'm struck by how much you own who you are. right? And I talk I talk about like owning your outlier. And with both of you in this room, like I feel that like you know who you are. Like it's not a thing that you've just accepted, but it's something that you've actually said, like, by the way, now I have entered the room. I have something to contribute. I have something to bring. And it really like comes along with you. And I feel, and I think Ulrike, maybe fun to start with you on this year, because you talked about like you've been a communications leader, but you also believe in like the being, like where leaders are coming from. I feel that just like being in space with you, like you are already like exemplifying and being a model of what leadership looks like and feels like when you're able to bring more of you into the work that you do. So let me start off with you on that. Tell me a bit about your journey to that. Tell me about like how you've seen that work with your clients, and maybe I'm seeing something that is not actually there. So correct me if there's anything that I need to be corrected on.
No, well, you're right. So, and I think like Caylin as well, I had myself a journey where I went through this whole stages of self-development. Even if I was not a corporate leader anymore by that time, I started with my own business. And I realized that by doing that, I was really faced with my own limitations very, very much. Because as soon as I needed to promote myself, because I am kind of my product logically, because I'm providing the training. So people believe in me or they don't. And so they book me or they don't. And that was very hard for me. And I realized how much I have been not the right person, not the true person in all these over 20 years of my corporate career. I realized how much that hindered me to enjoy my personal career, because I had a beautiful one, but I was never satisfied. I was always criticizing myself. I was never really owning my full power, even if I was performing like crazy, but more out of anxiety than out of the pleasure of having competencies. And today, this is really different, but I needed to work a lot on myself. It was a big journey of creating a lot of self-awareness and of learning to being in the present moment without preparing it, without safety net. You know, I came into this conversation like Caylin did as well, without really knowing what we'll be talking about. And that is fine. And like you said, it's really about letting things emerge. And that makes the whole difference, because if you arrive to that stage where you can let that happen without fearing, oh, it will be a failure, I will not be perfect, I will be rejected, what if, then you can be there and you can come up with whatever it is and be happy with that. And I think that is important in our daily lives, no matter if it's at work or in our personal lives, because we are always the same self. And if we bring it to the table with the courage that we can be ourselves in the moment and not projecting us into a whatsoever insecure future, because we always fear something in the future as soon as we start thinking about things like that, I think that would be a real difference, because people could connect with each other much better, would listen much more, because they wouldn't ruminate already what comes next, and how can I look good actually in the next 5 minutes or in the next 5 hours or 5 years. And I think this is really the difference. And that's a journey I'm still working on. I'm really still working on my capacity to be in the now. I think that's a big, how to say, a big advantage if you can do that. It feels just so much better. It's amazing how much happier you can be when you suddenly finally are capable of living in the now most of the time. And obviously you have to plan sometimes some things for the future, but most of the time staying in the now and bringing yourself back there and being present, that's the whole thing. And it's an art. And I know for many people it feels like inachievable, because there's so much living in the future or in the past, that it's a big step to make, but it's a great step, which I can only recommend.
Well, I appreciate that. Like, and I'm going to invite anyone right now that's listening to this. That's like, just check with yourself right now. Are you in the future? Are you in the past right now? Or are you like actually present? It's something that can be practiced in the micro moments in that moment there. So thanks for bringing that in. I'm gonna have to check with myself. Like, so I have this policy that I have like this game that I play where I'm like, I can't just say it for others. I have to be able to actually internalize it myself. So let me bring in that level of presence right now. All right. Caylin, I'm curious for you. So we were talking about like being and how things work there. Is there anything that that stems from you from either the original question or anything that Ulrike said?
Yeah. So, we talk a little bit about authenticity, right? And you touched on anxiety, which to me is all based in fear and ego and in our control. And I've been working on that for many years. I feel grateful that I've sort of I've overcome that anxious feeling of the future and planning, and kind of, I call it getting into my flow state, right? It's like, I just want to flow. I just want to let it unfold. I've always been one of those people that has to work at the flow state. It doesn't come naturally to me. So I'm wondering, and I know I do some things myself, but how do you practice authenticity? Is it about speaking your truth? Is it about not people pleasing? Is it about showing up in your favorite outfit? Like, what is it that makes you sort of put that authentic step forward? And maybe I'm missing something in my journey that I would love to add to my toolbox.
I cannot give you a real tool because it took really time for me.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah.
But I can give you a signal when I feel that it's right. It's when I say things and I hear myself speaking without having thought of it before. When it comes automatically out of my mouth and I hear myself saying it, like, whoa, I'm really saying that right now? Whoa, whoa. And I love it. I love it when that happens, because then I feel it's coming in a really unfiltered way. It's just coming from the heart. I don't think and I don't control and I don't filter. And I think this is true authenticity. It's not about being very special or standing out or being super bold all the time. Not really, because some people are authentic without being bold. They're just themselves. They can be very calm people and they're just themselves. And I think you need to feel good about yourself, because as soon as you start thinking of how you come across, how you look like, what you say, how will others perceive me, authenticity is gone. Presence is totally gone, because you're in another world. You're in some people's minds, which you even don't know what they really think, but you think about what they think. I mean, it's completely crazy how much time we spend with these things. And that's what I would say is the point. And yeah, to get there for me, it was a lot about being really much more aware of my inner dialogue. You said that your inner narrative, your storytelling, that also, I mean, also relates to the body, for example, to the health issues you might have or believe you have forever, whereas it's probably not true. I love that topic, by the way, as well. So it's about that. It's about really listening to you and creating that self-awareness and not being strict, not like, oh, I have to wipe it all away, all these negative thoughts, and I have to be perfect, because again, you will not be authentic. It's about your true self.
It really is. And it's funny, like I've gotten the word should out of my vocabulary, right? I should be like this. I should do that for that. I should be here doing this. And I really truly learned that trusting yourself. I love what you said when you just kind of talk without thinking. Like sometimes our thinking is the problem, right? So I have been working on trusting myself. I call it trust or strengthen my intuition, or because when you're in chronic pain for so long, you're at war with yourself. You do not trust 1 ounce. Mystery pains all the time. You're angry about it, XYZ. So trust is, I feel like, maybe the foundation for authenticity, right? So I'm trusting that this is who I am without someone saying it's who I was, without these expectations of who I'm supposed to be in certain situations, which is not easy to do. It might even be harder than being present. I don't know which one is harder, but when you truly find yourself in that place, what a beautiful thing. It's almost like you pat yourself on the back, like you did so good. You were truly yourself. You lived in the moment. You were free of all those expectations, and that brings you joy. And I think that that's our purpose, right? Is to live a joyful life, right? So we forget that along the way. Is joy is where we're headed, and authenticity and trust brings us there. So it's all part of the healing journey anyway.
Exactly. It's about what you said, being in the present moment, let things unfold. That is exactly the point. And for this, you need to trust in yourself, but also in something like the universe or something like that, in this energy that's around us. I trust in that too. And sometimes it's hard to just trust that things will come by themselves. But if you don't, they won't come. But that's my experience, at least. As long as I was really forcing that my business needs to work, it didn't work. It started working when I started letting go and focusing more on myself and putting myself first as well. I think this is something that people shy away from, because they think, oh, putting myself first. No, I should, like you say, I should care about, I don't know, my loved ones, my children, whoever at work, and they're so stressed out and never think about themselves. And I think it's really about put yourself first, be it on a health level, be it on a mental level. It all is one thing, and anyway. And if you have that yeah, if you decide that you start really with yourself and putting yourself into a situation where you feel more inner peace, and you can only feel that, like you say, when you start trusting the process and yourself and saying, hey, I'm good enough. I don't need to have 5 different diplomas more just to be able to believe in myself. No, I'm good enough like it is. And let's start from there simply and see what unfolds. And I think this is a stage when you arrive at that, then things really come into your life. Then things come together like miraculously. Suddenly
Yes.
people pop up. And it's very funny that I meet you today, by the way, because I'm really working on my chronic pain in my knee right now. I thought I
Ah,
have to do something about that mentally, because physically I'm done. I have to do
yes, I
something.
hear you. I hear you. And how hard is it to let go? Like sometimes we hold on with white knuckles so hard to those things, and they're the only thing in our way. I recently read that if there's resistance or you're pushing or forcing, it's not right. It is just not right, right? Listen to that energy, right? So chronic pain is they're messages. They're just messages. Listen, tune in, it's one of those things where you're ignoring it, or you're moving too fast, or you need to slow down, or whatever it is, but all they are just messages. And so, sometimes when we tune in, they're not the answers that we think. We think it's a certain thing we're doing, but it's really maybe energy that's blocked, or an emotional, stopgap that we just need to open up and process and express. And whatever it is, trusting that you know the right answer and that it will come to you, like you said. And these sort of, meetings and things are all part of the plan that you didn't create and you are not in control of. That's a hard thing for most people, because we want to control something. I think we want to have that schedule, and we want to have this and that. And it's a sense of worth at the end of the day. I satisfied all of these check boxes, right? And you sleep better knowing you did something. But really, your health is the thing that you should do all the time. And so I think you're absolutely right with leading with authenticity, because one of the biggest things on my health journey I learned was speaking your truth. I didn't even realize I wasn't until I did. and this podcast and the podcasts that I have are all ways to do that. So, what you're doing here with the Outliers Edge is really, really changing the world. So yeah.
I appreciate that. Like my goal right now is no longer to change the world, but to change like my world, right? The people around me, and to
Starts within.
yeah, and like both the way I experience it and the people that are in like my sphere, like the world around me, right? It's been really interesting being here right now, because I will reflect the last 5 minutes for me. The last 5 minutes for me was really fun because I got a chance to experience like letting go, right? As well as to experience both of you a bit in to see you all through a bit of your leadership. It was cool for me. It was cool for me. Well, let's say this. It sounds good. Like right now, I'll be like, it was cool for me. But there was times in there where I was like, oh my goodness, should I be saying something? Like, should I be asking another question? Like, should I yeah, right? And at the same time, it was really funny. It was like at the same time, like, let's talk about trust and let's talk about letting go and let's talk about like leaving control. I noticed the slip there of losing control, right? So I want to pause you because again, like everything I do it's a model. We can talk about things, but it's the actual experiences that we have. Like that's where I find being coming to place. This is where I find authenticity coming to place. Where it's like, are you actually in the experience that is happening? And like it'd be very simple for me to just kind of continue onwards. But like the real lead, like y'all have given me the gift of leadership in this place, and to be able to actively choose and say, I'm going to allow, like, just keep allowing what's happening here to keep happening, and to be able to be challenged and like, what is emergence for me? Like, this is what's emergent, And it was really like, if I'm being honest, it was cool going through like the inner dialogue that was taking place, because after like my palms stopped sweating and I stopped questioning like what I needed to do. I could just like, there was a time where I just sat back and I was like, oh, okay, they got this, and for certain people this can be exactly what it is. Like this is what's necessary. And at a certain moment, there was a moment that came along where I was like, this is cool. Like we have we all just got to know each other, and something about the way that we got set up with each other, and something that like allowed for this to take place in the way that it is, for us to have the space to be in that and to be in there. And so you'll find with me that like I'm very reflective as it goes on. Ulrike, you were talking earlier about awareness, right? Like for me, the awareness is always on. And it takes some time to actually speak out that which most other people wouldn't know. It would be very easy for me to just continue on with the next conversation. It feels more vulnerable to like be here and be like, hey, by the way, for a second, I was like, should I be doing something? But at the same time, it's like that to me is the journey. Like that is the element of doing it. And it was cool. Like this is now I feel like I earned being able to say it's cool. It was really cool seeing each of you like in a like part of like your leadership as well. Right. And like that's something that I don't know, it's very refreshing. So let's just keep keeping on. But I recognize that if I didn't bring this into this space right now, I would be hiding from y'all. I would be like, there'll be something in the back of my mind that I would be trying to, that I would have accidentally put up a mask, and with that a little bit of a wall. And rather than being like, this is it's great to be met with peers who can like we can just let this conversation be what we need it to be. Before we go on to anything else, I'd love to get like any of your thoughts on anything that I just said at all, or just bring something into the pool of conversation.
I really like the way how you were analyzing your own thought system, this pattern that is going on in your mind and how I describe that. And I really honor your openness, because that is showing vulnerability, to seeing like, oh my God, I was feeling like, should I step in? Should I say something? Because that's typically what is happening in many people's minds. And that's typically what, when I speak now from my area in the workplace, where people are sitting in a meeting and they have exactly that feeling, where they think, oh, I need to step in to show up, and I need to make myself more important now, because if not, they're speaking too much and I don't have enough time to say the things that I want to say. And I really love your self-reflection around that, and feeling like there's a time to speak up and there's a time not to speak up, and just following your instinct about that and observing what is going on in your mind. And that is exactly what brings you at the end, when we speak about authenticity, to authenticity. Because then you do not do that to please anyone or to please yourself. You just do it because you feel like that's the right thing to do. I probably have maybe like a mini evolution myself, and I'm sure you have a takeaway for yourself, or even several takeaways of this little situation. And this is how we learn, and this is how we grow into this authentic self that is powerful and that is relaxed and that is in the moment, and everything which he said before. It's exactly by this kind of self-reflection in the moment where we are living what we are living.
Yeah. Well said. It is so true. I love the introspection. Not many people are reflecting right now. They're sort of on cruise control. But this year, I do feel that people are waking up a little bit, taking a little extra time with their health, mental health, relationships, taking a third eye view of what's really happening. I've been working on living a conscious life, just everything I do. Conscious decision.
Tell me a little bit what does a conscious life mean? Because I think I get it, but like let me make sure I'm with you.
Yeah. So I'm just learning myself, and I'm grasping the idea that instead of sort of putting yourself on cruise control, meaning like, I just wake up, I just do this, I go here, I satisfy that box, I do the job and go home, I cook food without meaning. Every decision that I'm choosing to make now is very, very conscious, meaning how I speak to myself is deliberate instead of instinctual, because sometimes human nature, we tend to lean on the negative. I'm not sure why. So now changing the narrative inside is a conscious decision. I've made how I speak to my spouse, a conscious conversation, right? I notate how it would maybe make them feel before blabbing my mouth off. Before I speak in meetings, I make sure my words are succinct instead of just talking to talk like I used to. I respect people's boundaries a little bit more. I set my own boundaries. This is all sort of a conscious decision. Instead of saying, well, just put it into drive and just go about your life, I'm saying, take a beat, 1 second, take a breath, whatever it is, and make sure that it aligns with who I'm showing up as today. Because we all have the choice. Do I want to show up as lazy? Do I want to show up as productive? Do I want to show up as a leader? Do I want to show up as a victim? And for so many years, as a person who suffered, you do play the victim. Woe is me, feel bad for me. I'm angry about it. You should be angry too. And all that does is sort of cloud your conscious decision making. And so if you were to say, well, I'm going to make a decision right now, how will that impact the next hour, the next day, the next month? It changes how you decide. If you decided to come on this podcast and you were like, well, I don't really care what I talk about, I just want to get it out there, I want to make money, that's not a conscious decision to really truly show up as your true self. It's more so just a means to an end. So I think if we take a minute and just maybe think about what we're doing on a more granular level, it's much like introspection. It's much like self-reflection. And you can take some time and say, did I treat myself good today? Did I treat others well today? Did I take my time with my work? Did I take my time with my body? It's a conscious thing when you cook and eat. It's the same thing. Giving gratitude to your food. Everything that goes in me is either to help me or to heal me. So I give grace and gratitude to everything. May this food nourish my body. Whereas before I was like, I hope this doesn't give me a stomach ache, So it's a conscious choice to step into that light or follow the darkness.
As you say this here, it makes me think about an earlier part of the conversation where we were talking about presence. And I hear you like being in this level of conscious, like, I don't know if it's consciousness or like conscientiousness. It's one of those two, right? But there's like I'm like seeing like, oh, you're present to the moment. You're present to what's going in my body right now. But you're taking it a step further. I like this here because I'll speak for myself. And right now what I'm thinking about is like, you're talking about food, right? Like I can be present to like when I'm putting something in my body that I'm like, I'm doing this, I'm putting this thing here, not because it's healthy, not because I even want it, but because I'm stressed right now. And it's going to like make my day a little bit easier, right? Or make me feel good right now. I'm present to it, but I'm not making a conscious decision to not, because I'm present, I'm consciously saying yes. But I think there's a component of what you're saying that also says, like, in your presence, what do you want to do with it?
Right.
And I've never thought about consciousness, like being conscious, like from that perspective. But as I'm hearing you speak, that's what's really flowing through. It's like, in this moment, how do I want to be with my spouse? In this moment, how do I want to be with my relationship to food right now? In this moment, how do I want to treat myself? What do I want to say to myself? Like, I'm present, I'm aware, and now I'm going to make a conscious choice. And I feel the power in like making a decision one way or the other, but knowing that like you are making a decision. I'm picking up some of these things here. Like bring in a little bit more, and then let's open it up to Ulrike to like bring in some of what she's seeing.
Yeah, I think you both mentioned also the word gratitude. I know it's an evergreen somehow, the famous gratitude when it comes to self-development, but it's a miracle tool, definitely. And when you spoke about eating things, even though you are conscious and even though you know that it's not really healthy and you still do that, what I realized since I'm practicing gratitude much, much more than I did, for example, a year ago. And since I feel gratitude for nearly everything, I try to be grateful for everything, every little moment, all the little things, and to feel this gratitude in a specific place in my body. So for me, it's something visual that I feel in my chest, and I can bring it up quite quickly because I have this subconscious connection to it somehow. And since I do that, I do much less emotional eating, actually, much less. So because I was compensating obviously for something with that, like everybody does. And since I feel really good because of this gratitude, because this gratitude makes me feel good and makes me feel in balance with life and with what is happening to me, and even things go a little bit the wrong way, which is not often the case since I'm feeling so much gratitude, because then suddenly things go miraculously the good way and you can feel even more gratitude. But I think it's really worth doing that. And I think there's so many books out there speaking about gratitude. And I think people start practicing it a little bit in the evening before they go to sleep, or do some journaling, maybe in the morning. But the whole day they are like Caylin said before, they are on autopilot going through their day without awareness, without consciousness, and without being really grateful for the little things. And I think we just need to listen much more to ourselves. How do I feel? How do I feel? Do I feel good at the moment? Do I feel happy? Is there some inner peace and joy? Or what do I feel? And if you do not feel this inner peace and joy, Well, you're certainly on a path to some worries for the future, anxiety, guilt, I don't know what, some negative beliefs about yourself, self-devaluation, whatever you're doing, but you're doing something that is not in the present moment, that is not gratefulness, and that is not lifting you up.
So, so true. Gratitude is a huge part of the healing journey for sure. I read that if you are living in gratitude, meaning just going through your gratefuls, there's no way you can be anxious. You cannot be grateful and sad at the same time. Your brain physically cannot do both. So that's another conscious decision. Is sadness is easy. The health journey is hard. This is not the easy road. Gratitude is one of those ones that anchors you. That's why you feel it in your chest, because it's your heart center. But it's such a beautiful spread of energy, and that will go throughout your whole body. Now just work it all the way down to your knee where your chronic pain is, and now you're good. Just be grateful for all the suffering and all the pain, because it brought you the message. I call it the gratitude train, because once one thing starts, it's easier and easier and easier. And it's a great flip of a switch. When you are feeling angry, you can say, all right, let's just think of 3 grateful things right now. And your brain physically cannot live in that despair. It just can't.
This is fantastic. I am just so grateful, honestly, for the two of you here. We are going to start wrapping up this conversation overall, but there are elements of what you're bringing in that I recognize myself as places that not only are helpful for leadership, but are like it's integral. That's what I'm saying, right? Yeah. And I appreciate each of you for not only bringing your expertise to this conversation, not only bringing your experience to this conversation, but for being that experience as well, like for bringing your embodiment as well. All right, I'm like, oh, there's 3 E's. I'm gonna finish this one off. What we'll do now is we'll wrap up here in 2 ways. One, I want to make sure that people have an opportunity to continue down the journey with you, right? So if you can share with us here, we'll start with you, Caylin. Let us know what's coming up next for you, and how people can stay up, continue down the journey in your world, and then we'll come to you, Ulrike.
Absolutely. Happy to. I would love for you to reach out to me at any point in your journey. You can find me on social at CBCINKED. That's me personally, or at Heal Your Life With Us podcast, YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, Apple, anywhere there. Amazon, Goldify is the book there. Coming up, I have my new book, which is Change Your Story. It's on Amazon. And I'm also launching the 777 Spiritual Retreat. It's a virtual spiritual awakening summit with 7 leaders across 7 days and 7 sessions of healing. Everything from meditation to yoga to detox to hormones. It's a wonderful week-long virtual spiritual retreat. So that is on Eventbrite at Heal Your Life With Us. And please reach out to me. You can even email me directly at kaylinbree@gmail.com.
Thank
you so much. Thank you. Ulrike?
So you can find me under my very complicated name, ulrikeseminati.com, which is my website. You can find me also under my name, Ulrike Seminati, and on LinkedIn mainly. I'm there. And I can propose my guide, which is called Mastering the Art of Persuasion, because it's all about understanding your own profile and understanding better where other people are coming from and what they are really up to, what are their intrinsic motivators, so that you can, what I call closing the gap between knowing and doing, because we all know what we have to do, but we don't do it, right? So it's about closing this gap. I also have a keynote around this topic, closing the know-do gap, actually bridging that gap, which is really a nice tool for actionable leadership, for people who really want to change the way how they lead themselves and others. So you can get in touch with me via my website, simply contacting me, or my email, ulrike@ulrikeseminati.com. And for individuals, I have something coming up pretty soon as well on the 26th of September. I will have an online training, 2 hours per week for 2 months, where we go into igniting your success, you're sparking your success, so that you can reach your goals with joy and ease. That's the point, that you come from your perspective, from your true self. We also go a little bit into the topic of self-confidence there, and that you can shape a future according to your own terms. And if you want to sign up for that, you find it on Meetup. I have a Meetup group actually in Dubai and in Zurich. So everybody can join because it's online, the training, but it's on Meetup Zurich or Dubai. And my group is called Empowering Female Leaders, because I initially was shaping that group, well, to empower female leaders, because we don't have enough of them. So that's where you can find me as well, which also the name, and I finish with that, the name of my podcast, Empowering Female Leaders. So yeah.
Well, I have to say, like, we had I'm just grateful for you all. I really do say that. Please, y'all, if there's any part of you that feels like even a string is saying, like, let's go into these people's worlds, please, like, trust yourself and do it. Let me speak to you two here as we end here. I appreciate the power that you bring into the space. I appreciate the work that you've done on yourself and the work that you've done in the world to be able to come into this conversation and bring all of that on our behalf here. It's an absolute pleasure, and I'm wishing you all the best from here on out. Thanks so much, and thanks for making a world of difference today.
Thank you so much for having me. And you the same. Yes.